In the southwestern part of the United States, in the late 1800s, lived a special breed of men known as the Gunfighters. Introducing Kenny Canada as Bill Longer,
the Gunfighters,
Rowan Ellsworth as Ben Thompson,
no respect for the law, victims never saw
Danny Boyd as Luke Short. Luke Short was born in Texas in about 1854. Worked on his pa's ranch as a cowboy until he was big enough to take a notion to go on his own. Here was a gunslinger that learned to shoot out behind the barn on his father's West Texas ranch, and there was never a truer shot to be found anywhere. Luke's father had other plans. He'd always dreamed of the day when his son would take over the ranch. But that was not to be.
I'm a young cowboy ready to roam. Oh man, what can you tell me before I have to leave home? You're an old cowboy, too old to roam. Well, all you can tell me is, son, don't leave home. But my pony is saddled, she's ready to run. I've cleaned and oiled my trusty old 6-gun. Unsaddle your pony and give her some hay. You'll cuss that gun before your dying day. There's so much of the world that I have to see. A famous hero's what I want to be. There ain't many heroes out punching cows, and them that do wrong end up in dirty whose cows. No, the world ain't so pretty looking through these eyes. It's full of crying and dying and lies. But go ahead on, go on and roam. Remember, once you leave, son, you can never go home. You can never.
The Oriental Saloon did a thriving business. Luke's job was to keep all the hard cases out. The dangerous Charlie Storms had been looking for Luke. Charlie figured that if he could take Luke, it would enhance his reputation as a gunfighter. Charlie took a drink, then yelled out so all could hear him. All Texans are son of a bitches, and I know one's in here. Luke, being a Texan, wasn't about to take that from anyone. Luke faced Charlie. What did you say? I said all Texans were son of a bitches. Luke said, you're healed, go for it. The bartender stopped him with a shotgun. He says, we're not going to have any trouble in here. If you want to fight, go on outside. Luke invited Charlie outside. Since Marshal Virgil Earp tried to keep all of the gunplay off of Main Street, they moved on down to the not-so-famous then OK Corral. This was little Luke's first public gunfight. He baited Charlie into drawing first. It happened right out in the street, so the whole town could see Charlie go for his gun, only to wither where he stood and die as he fell.
When they rode into town, folks tried to gun them down, but the gunfighters always were prepared. They survived by their speed, killing first became the creed, but the gunfighters' code was holsters.
Howdy, partners. This is your old friend Chili Bill with my good buddies here, Juan Baracho and George Gabby Hayes Jr., who just took those falls for you a minute ago, telling you that no Hollywood magic is in this. Western know-how that makes Chili Bill's chili, the authentic, bring-you-back-to-life bowl of red made with lean beef and my own championship chili blend. A real palate pleaser. Why don't you give it a try? Well, let's see, I guess I better eat. Oh, there's only one bowl here?
Get your copy of If You Like It Hot today and start cooking up all those great foods of the Southwest.
Luke tired of Tombstone and went on to Dodge City in the 80s and bought an interest in the Long Branch Saloon. The story is often told that he hired a pretty girl to play the piano. Unknown to Luke, an ordinance was passed forbidding women from playing pianos in saloon. Luke hired Cookie Keys, a famous piano player from St. Louis. The word soon got around in Dodge about the lady piano player at the Long Branch Saloon. Soon Luke had the best business in town. His nervous competitors had a secret town council meeting to see what they could do about the lady piano player. The town council gave the chore of getting rid of the lady piano player to the sheriff. Since Luke had quite a reputation as a gunfighter, the sheriff had to think about it for some time. The sheriff ordered Luke to get the lady piano player out of the Long Branch. There was a city ordinance, and they wouldn't stand by and see it broken. Cookie Keys was furious and stomped out. Luke followed her, telling her to wait a minute. They would try to figure out something. Luke had been drinking all night and was pretty well liquored up. He couldn't understand how these people in town could force him to get rid of a lady piano player in his own bar. He took one last drink, thought about it for a few minutes more, picked up his shotgun, and went to find the city council and his competitors. They weren't going to do this to him. After he had cleaned up, Luke went over to his competitor's saloon and house of ill repute. He got somewhat of a surprise. The city council, the owner of the saloon, and the sheriff ordered Luke out of town at gunpoint. Luke figured the better part of valor was to ride on to Dodge City for help. Bat Masterson happened to be in Denver at this time, and Wyatt Earp in Silverton, Colorado, following his famed gunfight at the OK Corral. Luke wired for both of them to come as soon as possible. Wyatt brought 7 top gunslingers with him. Blackjack Bill,
they were killers on the run. The gunfighters held the land in fear.
Dynamite Sam,
Respect for the law.
Three-Fingered Dave,
Saw them draw. The gunfighters
Cold Chuck Johnny,
near. Gunfighters,
Shotgun Collins, Dark Alley Jim,
stalking by.
and Six-Toed Pete.
Gunfighters,
Doc Holliday of Gunfight at the OK Corral fame arrived the next morning.
When they rode into town, folks would try to gun them down, but the gunfighters always were prepared.
Wyatt made a deputy deputize them so they could wear their guns in town, then after cleaning up, went to see the mayor of Dodge. The panicked sheriff had bombarded the state capitol with telegraph pleas for help. The governor of Kansas, George Washington Glick, dispatched the state's adjutant general, Tom Moonlight, to try to prevent a war. A company of state militias stood ready to intervene. Wyatt went to the mayor's office, where he met with the worried sheriff and the mayor of Dodge, and literally dictated the terms regarding Luke's remaining in business. The mayor and the sheriff availed themselves of the good offices of Tom Moonlight and negotiated a settlement which the gunfighters promptly melted away, while the pianist, Cookie Keys, practiced at the Long Branch Saloon. That night, while the town looked on, Luke brought back his famous piano player for her encore and announced that Cookie Keys would be staying on for good. Luke was proud of himself that he hadn't been bullied by the town council, the mayor, and the sheriff. Soon the Long Branch did a lively business again. Luke was offered a fine price for his interest in the business and sold out. Luke very generously settled up with his famous lady piano player. Then a few days later, he left and went to El Paso, Texas, and bought out the White Elephant Gambling Hall. At over 250 pounds. He had been losing heavy to Luke and had gone to the bar. After all, the pretty ladies weren't paying any attention to him. He had been baiting Luke all night about his size and wondered whether or not he was such a great gunfighter. Luke finally got tired of it and got up from the gambling table. A space was cleared for the two antagonists. Luke told the big man, "You're healed, go for it." Luke was an unimposing little man, thin as a rail, but a professional gunfighter. The big man said, "Now wait. He's shooting at a larger target than I am. That ain't fair fight." The big man smiled. He figured that he had gracefully gotten out of the gunfight. Luke turned to the barkeep and said, "Give me a piece of chalk." Then he motioned to a young man that had been standing in the saloon, handed him the chalk, and said, "Chalk out a man my size on the other fella." Then he announced to the saloon, "Any of mine that hits outside of the line don't count." The big man went for his gun. Luke drew and fired, hitting the big man in the shoulder above the line. The big man said, "You shot me." Luke looked at the big fellow and said, "Don't worry about it. It hit outside the line. That don't count."
Somebody stole my caballo.
Nobody stole your caballo, Tomato. He took off and became a lawyer after tasting Chili Bill's famous championship chili.
Don't I know you from some place?
I'm Chili Bill, and we're doing a man-on-the-range interview to find out how many of you good folks out there like your chili hot and spicy. That's the way I like mine. Plenty of hot stuff in it to keep my mustachio curled. Here, Tomato, try some of this and become a lawyer, too.
Smells like chile.
Hey, you're getting smarter already, Tomato.
Good chile.
Of course it's good. It's Chili Bill's chili, and those of you who like it hot and spicy can enjoy all those good recipes you've seen Chili Bill and his guests cook on Chili Bill's Kitchen Show by going to your local trading post or bookstore and picking up a copy of his famous recipe book, If You Like It Hot.
See?
Luke Short died of the fever in 1893 in Kansas City.
One of the very few gunfighters or shootist to die with his boots off.
Giving the devil one more try. Gunfighters, gunfighters, death stalking by. Gunfighters.